Gomo guys, my name is JBuilds and welcome back to LEGO Digital Designer. If you haven't watched my first video on LEGO Digital Designer, you probably want to watch it as it gives some insight into what I'm actually doing here. But if you have watched it, welcome back, and I'm currently continuing the apartment building / hotel thing that I built. I'm not completely sure if it's an apartment building or a hotel, but it's something and it's looking good. I'm still continuing with that sort of faded design, and I'm adding 2 specific rooms. Also, if you notice the gray divoted 1x2 bricks there, I'm using those to kind of illustrate a gutter, sort of. Looking back, I probably could have used 1x1 circular gray pieces and then used the 1x1 white bricks because those would have looked more like a gutter, but I did it the way I did it when I did it, so I can't really change it as much. I'm also going to be putting together a road in this episode, although that comes later. And right there I used the same piece that I used as a cash register in the mini mart as sort of the key card area when you go into like a hotel room. So over here I'm going to be putting in the interiors to all of the hotel rooms, and they're going to be hopefully exactly the same. So I'm going to copy everything exactly as I go. So I'm going to be putting in 2 stools, 2 sort of like stool or bedside table things, and then 2 beds, and the beds are going to be made up of several different pieces. Probably could have used better pieces, but I decided to use whatever when I did. And the fact that I used 2 1x4 tiles is just pure laziness. I also like to add a bit of a checker pattern to the beds. It looks nice and it looks uniform, and I saw it in one of the log cabin creator builds, so I thought I'd copy it here. I also added a barrel in the hallway because I'm still going for like that lighthouse sort of theme with the faded colors, the whites, that sort of idea. And then I specifically put the chairs on these 1x1 tiles because I can rotate them and make it look like someone has actually been here, which is a pretty nice addition to the design. And then, of course, putting together the walls, the most exhilarating, exciting part of the entire episode is putting together walls. So since this is a 2-floor build, I decided to put together the same tile technique, but the way I changed it was I used those tiles, the same tiles that I used on the roof here, on the 1st and 2nd floor, so that if this were again in real life, I could be showing this off at like Brick Fair, for example, and that would allow me to then take off the 2nd floor and reveal the 1st floor. And then I hoped to put together a roof using the same pieces that I did on the restaurant, but that made a really weird looking overhang. So I decided to just put together a roof that fit onto the top of the building there, and I had to use a bit of a weird sort of technique to get it in there, where I had to use that weird tile thing. So I just did the same thing that I did on the 1st floor and added some overhead lights to lock it into place. I also locked it into place from above by putting some more AC vents and that sort of thing on. In the end, it looked pretty fantastic, and I decided I had to add some minifigures to the mix. So the first minifigure I did was a criminal, because every LEGO city has a criminal. The criminal is hiding out inside one of the hotel rooms, sort of taking it as a hotel instead of my original idea for an apartment building. And of course, there has to be a kid there. There just always is a kid there. And I also used the Obi-Wan Kenobi wigs, so I guess improvising. And the criminal got a cowboy hat, because every criminal has a cowboy hat. And I also had to do a bit of hiding there. I did not delete those bricks, I just hid them so that I could get my little Lego dude in there. And then I tried to mess around with making his limbs move, but for some reason I ended up moving the entire building, which is kind of strange, but I guess I'm learning some new mechanics. And then I also tried to get him to be holding a dollar bill like he was exchanging money, but that didn't work since it's Lego Digital Designer. Bit of bugs, bit of that sort of thing. And then I also got that little kid there standing on the sidewalk, and I tried to rotate him. It didn't work, it just rotated that entire building. So I just left him be and changed his arm a bit. I also tried experimenting with turning the head, but that also meant turning the hair, and that was weird and unprecedented, and I had no idea how or why the hair and the head move differently. But it's Digital Designer. I will be doing a video on Studio, which is their new Digital Designer sort of thing, but that won't come for a little bit. And then of course we have the criminal in his hotel room. Oh yeah, I tried to get him to bend down over the chair, but it ended up bending the entire house. The next thing I began to do was to begin experimenting with roads. So I started intuitively by using the Lego road pieces, because those were available in Digital Designer and were the next best thing to actual custom roads. But they were way too big and did not look like Lego from Digital Designer. They looked like PNGs of actual roads, which I did not want happening. So I decided to get rid of the roads because they didn't fit my theme at all. They just didn't work, and I couldn't get the right sidewalk to go on the side of them. I just abandoned the entire idea of having the Lego base plate roads because they wouldn't work well. So I decided to go ahead and put together my own custom roads. And these custom roads would be using the black base plates, and then I extended it out a bit because I wanted to extend the actual sidewalk part. So I kept a line down the middle there you'll notice, because that is where I began to put together the little road pieces, the center line of the road where they have the yellow lines and the dots and all the traffic symbols. Then I moved over that sewer grate that I built and extended the sidewalk out so that I had room to put a few trees in the center of the sidewalk. That would look nice, and it would make it look sort of like a plaza. I also then extended out some of the one stud areas so that I could get trees in there, and so that I could extend the areas a bit more out, so that the people looked more spread out. And it turned out the way that I had put together my sidewalks fit perfectly with the idea of having trees in the mix. And I also had to move around the fireworker a bit and move around some of the different people, but it ended nicely, and I got some areas to put together some custom trees, which worked quite well. The trees that I had in mind would have custom roots that I used these cheese wedge pieces, the 1x1 cheese wedges, to build, and then I moved the roots around and I experimented with a bunch of different styles before I decided to just completely randomize all of the roots so that it looked like it was naturally made. And then I put together the stems of the trees using some of the 1x1 brown tube pieces, which are the pieces that I would have used for a gutter if I had been actually thinking, instead of using those 1x2 gray sort of molded pieces. And I added some tree leaves on the generic tree, the generic tree piece. I moved them around on their hinges so that they would move and look like different tree forms. And then I added some more stock on them so that I could get even more differentiation with the leaves. That one by the fireman is sort of tricky, just because his fire hat kept getting in the way, and it was hard to rotate each of the tree leaves around because his fire helmet would just get in the way, and eventually I just glitched it out by going directly through the fire helmet. I just tugged hard enough on the tree branch. I also hid the base plates under the road because I didn't feel like building anything out beside the road, just so that I could build with it some more. And I extended the base plates for the road out a bit more, extended the sidewalk on that side, and then managed to make some more trees in a different pattern, just so that it could fit on that sidewalk. I also decided I would build a baby tree next to the smaller child who's on the sidewalk because, it sort of seems fitting. Lego is a pretty childish, it's not a childish invention, but it is a toy, and I wanted to add some of that, childish playfulness. Although, Lego is used for much more than just children's toys. And then I extended the sidewalk a bit more, of course, and put down some more road, and I had to use some different pieces just because of the way that the road was working there. It didn't really work out the way I had hoped, but it was okay because it was an easy fix. And then I added back those yellow lines. And the good thing about Digital Designer is when I'm zoomed out to the point where I am, the little cracks in between each brick, like on the sidewalk, it looks like just one sidewalk. And on the road, it looks like just one road, which is really helpful for the aesthetic of it, because if this were real Lego, you would see each and every crack in between the road, and it would get slightly annoying after a little while. And then I also used the yellow as a filler. That's not the actual color that I used. I converted it all to a black color, but I did that so that in the middle of the road there, I could work with the road piece, and I could make it an intersection looking thing. And then I hid all the extra base plates, and that's the end. And it looks quite nice. It looks like something you might see at a beach town, with the trees on the sidewalk and the different faded colors and the bright colors and all the mixes of colors and all the people out on the street. It looks really nice, and I was really happy with the ending. Of course, I did hide a few base plates just so that it looked better, and I did all the interiors and all the backs, and made it so that each and every roof and every floor of the buildings came off. So if this was a real life design, if I had built this in real life, it would be entirely modular, and it would work well with display purposes. So thank you guys for watching this video. I might do more digital design, or I might do some studio, but I'll definitely keep recording videos. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.